Celia Ramirez. I'm from Mexico, from Guadalajara, Jalisco. That you see there in the picture is something that you will find if you look Guadalajara. That's kind of something you will definitely find. It's the cathedral, and we are in November. Dia de Muertos is also very known everywhere, so kind of embracing all of the opportunities and colors that we have and that we love, putting everywhere and having that happen and be a thing. I want to share a little bit about me and then go through like some lessons learned, and just open it up. But I think we can just like open it up and in this next part of agreements, that I always like to start every single space that I have, even when I have a conversation with my partner or my family. I'd be like, okay, so what is our meta communication through this process? Like, how are we going to talk with each other? So I did this shared space agreements proposal, and the idea is that you tell me if you're okay or not with it, and then we'll just go along. The idea would be that as much as possible that we have our video open so we can be looking at each other, but also understanding that if we can't hear each other very well, then turning video off helps. Having our microphones muted, because then like sometimes we have some sounds or noises, unless we all open it and make noise with purpose or purposely. Also, there's this sign language. I don't know if any of you ever heard about Occupy Wall Street, but they had this whole system of hand signals to be able to have very big citizen assemblies, and that everyone could be understanding of what was going on. So this is like applause in sign language. And the idea is that every time you hear something that you resonate with or that like you feel connected to, be like, oh, I feel so frustrated. When then you go like, yes, yes, frustrated, It's kind of like the snapping your finger thing too. So it helps to know, and that we all kind of see with whom do we have these things in common. Embracing diversity as well. Obviously, we have a lot of different ways of seeing life, and that's the most amazing thing about conversations, right? That we all have different points of view, and that the way that we communicate is not to convince the other person of what I am saying, but to actually create something together. Time-wise, just like to be mindful of the time. We only have 1 hour, which will definitely fly by. So just being present. And if we have like to take a phone call and everything, well, I think everybody has a lot of stuff to do. Just make sure you have it on mute, or else we will hear about that call, and it will be recorded and it will be published online. So let's just be careful with that. So yeah, like shared spaces that then get, published online. So then we have the signs, and for that, I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. And I would like to see are we missing something for the agreements? Are we okay? Would you like to add something? And if you're okay, you do this. And we have this one I have to say something, and this one like, no, not okay with it. So I see a lot of these. Okay, all right, nobody something to say? Good. And I am reading, says on the time point I have to drop off after. Okay, right, love it. Thank you so much for letting us know, Justin. Make sure we hear about you before you have to go.
There's just nothing personal. When I disappear, it's not a
Yeah, and don't I think it's also very important. Like sometimes we're gonna like, I'm just gonna sneak out so nobody knows. But to me it's okay if you say like, oh, I just wanted to say bye everyone, and it doesn't matter if you interrupt or anything. Just I feel that closure is important before we leave a space too, so that's okay, right? Okay. Nice. So, all right, so I will continue now. And having said that, I would like for each, although I know I'm going to be the one sharing more, I would really want to know something about you guys, and of each of you. So we could do like a quick round and saying, hello, my name is, I'm from, and adding something that you really love doing, but not a lot of people know that. But remember, it's going to be published online so that you feel comfortable saying it. So, Yeah, and so what's your name? Where are you from? And something you like doing that not a lot of people would know about that. And if it's okay, and if not, just say share something that you want to share. Okay. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pretend I have a little fake brain thing here. That I'm just kind of like share, like I'm gonna throw it, and then you can grab whatever you have in your hand, and then be like you're throwing it, but you have to say who you're throwing it to. Okay. So we have the names of the people here on the screen, and so we're just gonna go around do that and try to like we're just gonna do it like if it's a hot potato thing, so we have to do it a little bit fast. Okay, all right. So I'll start. So well, I'm not gonna say mine because I'm gonna share that later. So I'm just gonna throw it for Aparecida. Here you go. You have to catch it. Good job. Awesome.
Okay, I'm Aparecida in Portuguese. I live in Brazil, right in the middle of Brazil, in Uberlândia, in the state of Minas Gerais. And I love knitting, and I think nobody knows that, except for my daughter. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Aparecida. And who do
Okay,
you throw it to?
I throw it to Justin.
It's hard to catch and unmute yourself. um, Hi everyone, Justin D. Kozmowski. So it sounds better than it looks. That last name. Yeah, thrilled to be here. And in terms of a skill nobody knows about, I really love photography. I feel like I might have been a photographer in a previous life. And I'm not saying that I'm, not Ansel Adams or anything, but I do love photography, and I feel like I see the world in frames. So anyway, that's I guess what I'll share. Um, and I will throw it to Marco.
Unmute first. Thanks, Justin. So my name is Marco Berti. I'm from all over the place because I'm Italian, Australian, but live in Portugal. I'm a professor at Nova SBE, and I was invited by Joanna because we are playing around the ideas of kind of invading your space with research and with experiments. And in terms of what, I mean, I'm not sure that, I mean, fairly good. So let's say a fair number of people know about this skill of mine, which is I love cooking, but probably none in this room. So I mean, if you happen to be in the same continent as I am, I'll be happy to cook for you.
And who do you
And
throw it to,
now
Marco?
to Odette.
Thank you. My name is Odette, and I'm from Cape Town, but I'm living in London, and I work for the League. I'm quite vocal about my hobbies and skills, I think. So trying to think of something that I haven't shared with people is hard, but since I was a child, I've always had a thing for architecture. Sometimes when I'm bored, I'll just draw very intricate blueprints for hours, and somehow that's soothing. Yeah. I'm going to pass it on to Maggie.
Hot. Thank you, everyone. I'm Maggie Raria, currently in London, but live in London and Kenya. And actually, a skill I have, which I've been exploring lately, is designing spaces. I seem to have a knack for it, and there's just beauty in sort of finding a beautiful place. So I like to do that. And now I'm going to throw it to Angie.
Okay, I can mute and resume. So I am Angie de Salvo. I'm from Argentina. I work for the League. And I am enjoying cooking. And nobody knows because I used to be really bad at this. Actually, I'm still am, but I'm enjoying it and I want to celebrate that. So I'm gonna pass it to Yolana.
Hello, everyone. Lovely to see you all. Yolana from Bohemia, living in the UK. And something that no one knows that I like doing would be probably cycling and staring at the surrounding. And I'm going to pass it on to Danny.
Thank you. I couldn't unmute and receive at the same time. My coordination skills. I'm Daniela. I go by Dani. I'm also from all over the place. Kind of. I'm from Chile with a German passport, living in Spain. And I work for the league. And same as Odette, like I feel I'm very extrovert with all of my hobbies, and I do many different things. But I was trying to think something that people don't know that much. I thought about photography, that I studied photography, but then I realized something that I haven't shared, that I really love learning like choreographies or like lip sync and all of these things. I really enjoy that, but I've never shared that. So that's a new. So I will give it to Taryn. Is it Taryn? Did you see kind of what's going on, Taryn?
I did. Sorry, I'm late. Catch that. I'm Taryn. I live just outside Toronto in Canada, in a little place called Pickering, and this is my first week with all of the entrepreneurs, so that's exciting. I was going to say free verse poetry and songwriting is something that I've picked up lately, and it just kind of happened. So I've been really playing with that, and maybe I'll need some dance moves with that. So Daniel. Send you a note.
Yeah, we're starting to create some networking here. I can see that happening now. Go ahead. So I don't know if you've seen, but we're missing still Joanna Castro and Maggie Dupree. So whomever you wanted to.
I'll toss to Joanna.
Look what I catched. Thank you. So I'm Joanna, I'm from Portugal. I'm a fellow of the League. I also work at Nova Business School, so I'm here as an accomplice to Marco to do a research project, getting him fueled and inspired like I already am with this group. And I also am quite vocal about my hobbies, but I think that this group doesn't know that I'm a passionate beginner of skateboarding. I even bought a backpack to hang my skateboard. And I'll pass the ball to dear
Skater here.
Maggie.
Thanks, Joanna. Hi, everybody. I'm Maggie Dupree, originally from Portland, Oregon, which has been in the news a lot lately. You've seen all the frogs protesting outside the ice. So I'm very proud of my hometown representing, but I live in England. I've been here almost 20 years, and I've recently started padel is a sport. It's a racket sport that started in Spain. And what I'm realizing is I'm very competitive. I don't think I quite knew that about myself, but my husband and I are currently the reigning champions of our little padel group. So there you go. Back to you, Celia.
Thank you, Maggie. Love it. That is amazing. I think knowing all those things about you people, like we've only met for like 5 minutes, and we already know something though, but not a lot of people know, you know. And yeah, now I want to do choreographies with Dani, you know, and try Marco's food, and you know, like all these things and talents of us as a group. So thank you so much for sharing. I will go along and talk a little bit about me and trying to yeah, share why I think I do what I do. So this is me. So that first picture is my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mom, and the four of us are Celias. So so that's something not a lot of people know, and it's really fun. Then that's me with my dad, my brother, my other grandparents, and a lot of flowers for my graduation because I made it. Yay! I studied med school. It was really hard for me to see what I wanted to study. I loved photography. I actually went into professional dancing academy because I wanted to be a dancer. And then I also wanted to be a marine biologist because I love the ocean and I was into surfing and, you know, scuba diving and all those things. But I ended up doing medicine and I loved it. And I always thought that I loved it because two things. One, the human body is just amazing. Like it's just like I still can't understand it. Even I can explain things. It's just like still amazes me, you know? And I always see everything like a connected system of organs and, you know, and all of this. So talking about the conversation we had earlier about systemic change, well, the body is the most, you know, accurate example of how everything is connected. And if there's just one little thing that doesn't work, you'll notice sooner or later. So that, and after doing med school, I went to the US and I was going to do my USMLE, the medical license evaluation. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to work in the US. I want to still be in Mexico. So I used that money and went to a workshop with Patch Adams at his, there's this, Gessenheit, the land that he has. I don't know if you've heard of Patch Adams, but he studied medicine, but not just because he loved listening to people and he wanted to do service, but also to change things from within. And I don't think he knows he was an entrepreneur, but he was definitely an entrepreneur. And this there's a school for designing a society in Urbana, Illinois, with Susan Parenti, whom is a partner of Patch Adams, and we went to Costa Rica after that for 2 weeks of clowning and caring. That's what it's called. So you would do clowning in the afternoon and caring and workshops of thinking why things are happening the way they're happening and what can we do differently and what are we going to do to make our false affirmations happen. And a false affirmation is something that is not true right now, but you're going to work your ass off to make it happen. So it's kind of saying, yeah, like imagination is reality. Or there is peace and justice in the world. And working towards that. So in a weird way, I ended up working in the government, and then I always like this picture because it's very funny. It's not my best picture, obviously, but I am dressed like the colors of the flag, and it was not intentional. And I worked for the state of Jalisco as a networking director of or liaison director of the Secretary of Planning and Citizen Participation for 6 years. I had never worked in the government before. I was an archivist. I was the one that was usually in the protests. And yeah, and so I jumped in to be a public server. And understanding that was mind-opening. Like it would just like open my mind to so many things. And understanding empathy and understanding like we are all part of the system and we all suffer it from any space that we are in. But we also have a lot of things that we can do from any of the spaces of where we're in as well. And then I became a mom in 2020, and that definitely was like double, you know, power potential. I was always very much into children's rights. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, a pediatric neurosurgeon. I ended up doing a master's in social medical studies, which is sociology and anthropology of health. And but I always loved, you know, working with children and with elders and always found that artivism was a way to do that. So that was just like a little something. I wanted to share also my questions. One of the questions I always ask is, why does this happen? You know, why does it happen? Why can't it be different? Who said so? And why did that person say so? And how do we start? You know, I'm always saying that we have to embrace discomfort, embrace uncertainty as part of what we do. And embracing discomfort is also being the one that asks a lot of questions that are uncomfortable. And that sometimes I have a lot of questions and I do not have the answers. But I think that if we put the questions on the table, then we can start thinking differently about it, right? So kind of that. And I put the unicorn because I always think like, let's start imagining unicorn. And it doesn't matter if we end up with ponies, you know, like, but if we don't think about unicorns, we're not gonna start, you know, and we're not gonna be getting anywhere. So I'm gonna share some lessons learned. And these lessons have hurt. My body has said, stop. You know, I broke my wrist once and I had to stop. And that to me was like the most frustrating thing ever because it was my right hand. And I was the coordinator of a community center, and I felt so frustrated about not being able to move because they told me you can't move because we don't want to do surgery, but you have to literally not move your hand so it sticks back together. And I was like, you know, and I learned a lot about that. And so yeah, I thought it could be a good idea of sharing that. And also, so feel free, like if you have something that it's connects with some of your experiences as well, to like raise your hand and talk about it as well. And then they're just 5, so I'm gonna just go through it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to ask everyone. So I'm just gonna go through A through E, but I'm gonna go so. And for the next one, and everybody's gonna do like a fake drum roll. So we're just gonna go like, and I'm just gonna see you do the drum roll. And then I'm gonna be a letter A, and then I'm just gonna start with that. Okay, so can we like practice the drum roll? Just hear out our invisible sounds. Okay, all right. Letter A. Here we go. Okay, let me see if I can make this. Okay. I can or have to do everything. That is a lesson that, you know, to a certain point. Oh, hang on. Why are you going so fast? Come back, you. Okay, there you go. This part, I think, has been a very important lesson for me. Not that we can do everything that we think we can, means that we have to do it on our own. And I don't know if you've gone through this as entrepreneurs, as, you know, just people that really thrive into our own ideas or our beliefs, but it's a trap, people. It's a trap. Be careful. Um, I just read something about it and it was super interesting. Um, the system will always, it's very perverse sometimes. Well, many times. But I think it finds ways, you know, like where we see something. I don't know if you share this, but I feel that, or I'm just going to talk for myself. I see something and when I see that, I'm like, oh, what if we do it this way, you know? And you know, maybe we could change this. And then people's like, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. That's not gonna change anything. And I'm like, can I try? Can I do it? And then so I'll start doing it. But then since nobody still believes in that it's gonna happen, I'm like, oh no, but they're not gonna believe into it. So let me do this. And oh, but we should do this other PowerPoint or this Excel or make these phone calls, you know, and start doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it. And in doing so, I have found to have made a lot of mistakes in not, yeah, like allowing other people to be a part of that process. And I end up solving things instead of, you know, motivating people to live the experience of what that feels like. And so yeah, and then the system, you know, goes like, oh, she can do all that? Yeah, girl, go do it. You know, and they give you more projects and they give you more things because you can make it happen. And that is, so I don't know, like in public service, sometimes we do not have a lot of resources. I don't even have computers sometimes. You know, I've had a lot of circumstances, and I'll be like, it doesn't matter. I can make it happen. I can do this. I can do that. And they're like, see, she doesn't need anything else. Like, she can make it happen, you know? And that is the trap. We need to make sure to make things happen, keep it uncomfortable. And this is a conversation I've been having with a lot of teams lately. How do we actually make it happen? Because it is for a purpose that goes beyond ourselves, and it is for like a benefit for communities and everything, and do it the best way, but in not letting that go over our care as a team, as a person, and also having the resources that we need to do that. And I added this why so serious because I think also this cynical perspective that we end up having is or this attitude that we end up having, it's not because sometimes, you know, or I've been coming to understand that public servers in different spaces are so fed up and tired about this that it becomes a way of a defense mechanism or a survival mechanism. And it doesn't mean it's okay. It helps me understand it and see what we can do about it. But also that change doesn't have to be serious. It can actually be fun, and we can make it a performance. And that is something I learned from Susan Parenti. Every day, what you wear, how you stand, the tone of your voice is a powerful tool for daily performance in your life, wherever you are. And that will definitely make a difference. So, drum rolls for letter B, please. Let's go. Letter B. Okay, letter B. It'll just take a sec. Yeah, I can make that happen, you know? I'm just gonna read over here. Oh, see you, Justin. Hope you have a great day. Thank you, already left, but in case you see the recording, know that we are thinking about you. So yeah, knowing in this day-to-day life, it goes so fast. There's so much going on. We fall into all these things. And something that I feel that public service or governments, or I think maybe every single social organization, private sector, academic, anything, we feel like in this expectation that everything is so immediate that if we do not see the result very fast, then it's not working, you know? Or if we did not get the result that we thought we were going to get, it's not working. And in saying so is thinking that a social being or systemic change would be A to B, which is definitely not, and you, I think, all have shared that. And you will have A, and then B will turn out to be X, and then you will have B and C and D all tangled up together. And, you know, and I think that is really hard sometimes and can be very draining if we are not aware that we are going against time because we want to slow it down a little bit. And slowing it down can be frustrating for spaces who want to make it work faster. And so how can one of my questions is, I don't want it to be more efficient. I want it to be deeper. I don't want it to be you know, I don't want people to just come in with answers. I want people to leave with reflections, you know, and questions. And sometimes that is hard. And so there's a lot of stuff that we've been doing. We did this, for example, this like open space fair activities for climate change. We all of these are different ministries of the state. So we had the environment ministry, education ministry, all the different ministries. And I told them, you are not going to just give out a flyer. You have to create a fun activity for people to learn about things. So they each had that challenge and they created their own, you know, material and activities and dynamics. And we visited a lot of 22 of the 125 municipalities. And then people was like, oh, come on, you only did 22 out of 125. Like, that's nothing. And I'm like, well, it would have been nothing if we hadn't even gone to one, you know? So also just embracing that it doesn't have to go fast and it doesn't have to be a lot to have an impact. And number 3, I went out with the drum rolls because this one is, oh, we got rumbles anyways. I love it, Odette. She's got the attitude. All right, let's just do the drum rolls. Ready? 1, 2, go drum rolls. Letter C. This will change the world, you know? And thinking that every single action that we do, we always think about, yes, and I'm going to do this, and then this will change the whole education system. And now, you know, we will actually be learning things that are useful for our day-to-day life. And sometimes we don't have that happening, and it can be very frustrating. So what I have found, and I learned from one of my most amazing bosses, her name is Margarita Sierra, an amazing woman, and she would say, we need to, as we invest time in planning things, we invest time in doing things, we should also make time to reflect upon it and also celebrate it, even if it's just one small step. So this is me when I finally got, you have no, like a box of papers, like huge box of papers of all these, you know, agreements and signatures from like 10, because I made a crazy thing that we are doing systemic change. So I made 10 different ministries sign the same contract. And they're like, no, 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 let's just make one different one for each. I'm not like, no, I need them to know that it's not just their project, that they're doing it with 10 other ministries. But it's going to be super hard to get all the signatures. So it was in December. It was like 23rd of December. We were supposed to be on vacation. And all my team and I had like whiteboards full of like, you go to this ministry and I'll meet you here and then you give it to me and then I'll go to the other ministry and then we're gonna get back. It was like a whole rally of getting signatures. That's what we called it. It was like the signature rally. And so we made it happen. And this person that I'm having that was the most serious person. Everybody was afraid of like having conversations with him because he was like very strict about things. And I would do that with every single person in the like in the government that would sign the paper. I would take a candle and be like, "You signed, you know, yay, thank you. This is one step closer to getting, you know, the municipal governments the money they need for mental health, you know, or the municipal governments for this social project." And I would talk to with them about the project and not just give them the paper to sign it, you know, like, oh, and thanks to this signature, we're gonna have, you know, nonviolent communication workshops through theater of the oppressed for schools, you know. And then he was like, oh my gosh, and he would be signing with excitement and then of being like, it's gonna be vacation and I'm here signing papers, you know. So I think like changing the moment and changing the way we do things that need to be done, it does end up changing things in the end. I saw Marco was opening his microphone. Did you want to say or something? Okay. All right. So drum rolls going to letter D. Okay. All right. Letter D. It'll all work out in the end. This is something that also happened to me in some projects was in believing all the first of the above, I would be like, I just saw my, you know, my clock said 11:11. This is gonna happen. It's a sign. Like this is good, you know, and I do believe that we do need moments of feeling connected to things and reading signals, and I do believe that it is very necessary and it does power me up with energy. But also, to me, has been learning to, although I am very like thriving and idealist and all of this, I have been very grateful to have very, I don't know how could I say it, like rooting or people around me that ground me, which in first things I would be like, oh, come on, you never, you know, like you're not letting me fly and believe in my dreams and make them happen. You know, you're being too realistic. But also, I think that has helped me to avoid high anxiety and insomnia. Because um, we want to change so many things, or I want to change so many things that my energy goes in so many directions, and I want to do like 200% in all of them. And sometimes people around me, you know, they've been like, I know you can, and I know you want it to happen, but like, what would we have to start doing and prioritize your energy in something that will make the other three things that you want to do easier later. So channeling our energy in these areas where we can, maybe to me it's like, oh, I want to make this forum, you know, for all the youth in the city that they can know and connect. And they're like, well, what if we have this small conversation first with these people and then we start from there? And then, you know, so taking steps back has also been very important to me, in getting a better perspective of things and changing paths, you know, like not being afraid to change path once you've started one and going backwards. It's okay to go backwards too. And sometimes I feel that since we are feeling frustration or anxiety because of what's going on out there, I feel that even staying still can feel frustrating. But staying still is necessary to observe and to see where we want to channel energy towards. So let's go to the last one. Alrighty, drum rolls. Letter E. I'm being a pessimist. So when things began sometimes, when I started out in feminism, and I would be so angry all the time as for listening to songs, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, all the pop songs say these horrible things, like seriously, you know, and I'd be hearing that. And then I would go to a movie and be like, ah, I see it there. There it is, the violence, you know, the system is changing, you know. Or I would go and to a restaurant and ask for the check, you know, and if I was with a friend, they would take the check to him, and I'd be like, you are, you know, perpetuating this because you think that he can pay, but you know, we're equal, right? So I was kind of like, um, and then I found like in the whole system, I started feeling like I couldn't have normal conversations as for just being or enjoying or just, you know, sharing thoughts and ideas. And then I came to talk about this with Patch Adams, and you know, I'd be like, how can we like have just conversation without thinking about social injustice and this and that, or you know, and not feel, because I would see it with him, you know, he would be talking about anything and then he'd be like, when I was in, you know, at the camps, and having this children, he started crying, and then he'd be like, so what are we gonna have for dinner? And I was like, whoa, how do you do that? You know? So, so in trying to find the balance, um, I have found that to make change thrive in the public sector, it is very important to not always point out what is not working, or because then people start listening. I mean, stop listening. And they'll be like, oh, she's only noticing what we don't do or what we can do better or what, and instead being, you know, aware of embracing what does happen with what we have, not normalizing it, not applauding it too much, but acknowledging that they made it, we made it happen, and then also pushing in or being a person that starts saying, let's do this differently, but also not saying, I'm not the only one that needs to do it, and how to convince other people. So I'm not, and starting over with not being the only one that's carrying all things, or solving things for the system, or, you know, against the system. And so that's me in my actual job. That is where they have the legislation sessions in the government, in the municipal government. And when they took that picture, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that protocol will agree that it's okay for me to stand on that chair and be having the workshop like that. But then I'm like, but it was, because it was with all the neighborhood leaders. We had more than 100 neighborhood leaders, or líderes vecinales, we call them. And I was telling them that they needed to, you know, advocate for what they wanted through some citizen participation mechanisms that exist. And I was telling them which ones they were and asking them about them and stuff. And I said, like, your voice and what you do is important, so you need to speak up. And even though sometimes we may sound pessimists, we do need to speak up and say things that are happening, but also yeah, holding hands with people to make it happen and not just pointing it out. And I know that a lot of people here do that every day, probably, you know, not just pointing it out, but being like, let's do this, you know, you're not alone. So just closing, I want to share this quote that I use and I have loved forever. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And Margaret Mead, she's an anthropologist from the US, and she was, yeah, like always observing how community organization, even in small groups, could actually change a lot of things. And I believe that as entrepreneurs, the fire that we have within, and understanding that it starts with us, that it starts with you, it also starts with us, and it's thanks to you, and it's thanks to us. And so just knowing that you are not alone and that we will definitely make more mistakes together, and that it's always nice to learn from each other. So thank you for this. And now I will stop sharing screen so I can hear you guys out. If anyone wants to ask something, share an experience, story, something, please feel welcome to do so. There, Maggie opened. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Celia. Thank you so much. I mean, you have such a beautiful way about you. I really enjoyed just being in your presence and listening to all those. And I particularly resonate with that last point about, sometimes we can just spend so much time on what's not working, and it does turn people off. And so I think I just made a note for myself to start celebrating what is. I think that's such a beautiful invitation. So thank you. I didn't have a chance to read your case study before this, so I am sitting with a question around the what. You beautifully brought the how, but I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about the change that you're trying to bring about. And I'm also listening to you, I'm sensing you work across, like there are a lot of things that need changing, and I sense you're kind of serial entrepreneur. So, maybe what's in your focus now, like what's the change you're working on now? And also, how do you decide? Like, where is this for me, Celia, to do, given all that needs
That I ask
changing?
myself that question every day, Maggie. Yeah, the what. I usually think about there's so much of concepts and things, I don't know, like I would say I work for governance, towards governance or towards peace. But how does that look? How does that feel like? Like how do I tangibilize that? So for example, right now I find projects that are very tangible. For example, participatory mural designing for communities, right? So that is something that you see. That is something that has a visual image and has a manual and corporal experience in which people get involved. But the most important to me is not that there's a beautiful mural. It is not that we actually have a mural. It is the process in making it. And so the process in making it is, to me, the what is having a person say, after this experience, I have now learned that we can do things differently as making things more participatory, and that we can enjoy the process and not suffer it. So to me is the what would be changing the experience of people living through participatory design in any subject. So we're doing murals. We're also working with creating music festivals, but we're also designing right now the urban district program design with architecture, department. So we're making this whole protocol, and I'm learning a lot about, how to make it with the indigenous communities and how the process should be adequate for the indigenous communities. But to me, it's also like, okay, this question that you said, yeah, we're gonna have a nice process, but are we actually gonna give or change something in the district urban, like in the design? Or are we just gonna make a nice process and make it feel good, but not have an impact? So that is also kind of like that line in between caring for the process, but also making the results be like that actually happen. And so the case study talks about meraki, which is a Greek word, for putting your heart into what you do. And I used also, I don't know if you've heard of human learning systems. I didn't really know about it. But human learning systems, one of the last things that it has, or during the cycle, is you have to embed the learning. So embedding the learning is how do we change legislation to make sure that mental health is an issue we care for public servers, for police department, and so embedding that in legislation will then add budget to it, will then make it happen for it to have a department, and sometimes if we focus in only having one department, but not embedding it into the legislation, then the impact will, yes, be small and you will see something tangible, but it won't be exponential. So to me I focus on having one small thing happen to prove like it's like a laboratory of making things happen. And once people are like, oh, we can do that. And I'm like, yes, why don't we put it in in writing? Let's make the president sign it. We could amplify this, make it happen in 20 spaces at the same time. And because we do need to have successful examples, but also learn from what didn't work, So I don't know if it answered a little bit, but kind of like that. Going
Yeah,
towards
no, totally love that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Celia.
And I was reading over here, Maggie said making such serious issues in a way that helps learning be fun and applicable. I wanted to share something about that, just because we are running out of time a little bit, but we had this public consult or a public survey and process to see the federal government still it came back to create a second level freeway over an already very traffic full freeway. And they wanted to do like a second level to make it, yeah, let's do this to solve traffic issues. And everybody was like, no, we cannot do that, environmentally, socially, urban, all the fundamentals. So what we did was we created methodology, and I created like a kit. So a lot of the things I do right now, I'm the director in social pedagogy, is although I would love to go to each and one of the 141 neighborhoods that we have in the city, if I do that, I will not be creating the materials for other people to do that. So that's kind of like focusing energy. So what we did was create a kit and saying, how to create the citizen assembly. What do you need? Material checklist. A script for the facilitators with a lot of blanks. Fill it in. We're not going to tell you everything, just going to give you a guide. Then materials, sharing like printable materials for people to do it. Then telling them, having a Dropbox or a Drive setting where everyone could put the results in of their citizen assemblies. But then always having a system in which a person who was reading those results, putting it in and mapping it out. And at the same time, having an online survey with a platform I found in Finland that's amazing. And so what we did was cross it out, and then, so we did all these different things, and it got so amplified. We had never had that much participation. We had 50,000 people participating, and all the results were, red. And we had people sending in their projects, architecture projects and designs and this, and then analyzing them with with seeing, okay, we can do this because we're the state, but no, this is a federal issue. We can't do this, and starting to get that done. And in the end, people felt heard. They felt that their participation did end up being part of the urban plan that we proposed, and that said, we are not having a second floor. Like, this is not happening due to this and this and this. And we are not the ones saying it. It is the citizens and the people and Academy and the NGOs. And, and there's this power in letting go of being the government that says no or that says yes, and in actually empowering that. So when in this process, I was very nervous because the methodology was very fun, and you had to write post-its and you had to do this. And so one of the forums that we had with the assemblies was with I don't know, like the leaders of Bosch Industries and, you know, of like really big companies, and everybody was in a suit, you know, and we were in this like very institutional place. And then I started asking, like, okay, we're gonna start playing, and I'm gonna ask everyone to sit down, and if I say something and you do that, please stand up. I'd rather watch series than read books, you know? And they were like, and so, you know, people that already knew me, they would stand up. And so it kind of like broke that stereotype and of a session, of a citizen assembly, of being serious, even though they were like high-end CEOs, you know, all these things. And the people with my team were like, what? No, we can't do the same methodology. We need to change it. I'm like, we're people in the end, guys. Like, no matter where you are, you breathe, you go to the bathroom, you dance, you know, no matter what suit you're wearing. And I feel that if we connect to that level, we can find a lot of stakeholders who feel seen as people again, as a person, and who connect with that, and who are also tired of being talked to as a walking building, you know? So yeah, like using play for serious matters, but not taking the seriousness of the matter away is, I think it's very needed, very much needed, because sometimes things are so upsetting and so sad, or so hard to talk about, that a little bit of loosening in the room and agreeing that we can cry, then laugh, and then cry again is okay, you know? And then create a municipal plan to do something about it. So yeah, and I cry a lot in listening to the issues in you know, in assemblies, and my coworkers are like, you shouldn't be crying. We are the government, you know? And I remember this when I was studying medicine, when I would cry with my patients' families, or I would cry with my, you know, I would just lie down and sing with my patients songs. And I remember once there was a patient that wasn't in my charge, or in my area. And he's like, I would like my doctor to sing with me. And I'm like, well, I can sing with you, you know? And in connecting in that way, there were a lot of things that I was very frustrated with the healthcare system. I can say that to this day, a lot of people die because they do not have the resources, right? Um, and I would not be afraid of sharing that with the family, and not excusing myself of the death of their family member, but saying, we cannot let this happen. Like, this happened to you. This is a mechanism that you can use to make sure you do something about this so other families don't go through this. So what do we do with that anger and with that sadness makes a total difference, and making sure it doesn't just bring us down or makes us fall into apathy and being like, I'm sorry, but like, it, this is not going to change. I'm just going to go, you know, do another thing. And it's okay if we do so as well. Like, we don't have to carry change, you know, everywhere. It's okay if we just go to a movie because we want to go to a movie, and it's okay if we just do this, and it's okay, and, you know, just chilling and doing and resting, and that is super necessary, because if we do not rest and we do not find time for ourselves and our families, then we are letting the system do what it's doing. That is, yeah, bringing us to like pieces and not having that energy in us to keep thriving change. So, yeah, so thank you so much.